Hello everyone, this is the story of what if Naruto fell into the hottest nightmare with Hinata. The wind was blowing softly in Konoha. The sakura trees were in full bloom and their soft pink petals fluttered down to the ground. The dirt roads were dusty, all was momentarily quiet and peaceful. Damn it, there's not enough ramen, screeched Naruto, shattering Sakura's ear. Naruto turned to her and gave a sheepish grin. Gomen Sakura-chan. Sakura rolled her eyes. Honestly, how can you eat so much ramen and not get sick? Instant ramen isn't good for you, Sakura said as she tucked a strand of loose pink hair behind her ear gently. Sakura was over at Naruto's small, cozy, and extremely messy apartment. She was helping Naruto pack for the mystery trip that the senseis and Hokage had planned, along with the other former genin teams. Sakura had reluctantly agreed to come over to lend a hand with Naruto's packing, knowing that obviously wouldn't be capable of packing by himself. Nay, Sakura-chan, will you come with me to buy some more ramen please? It's just around the corner, the blonde boy questioned. Sakura sighed. You already have enough ramen. Please, whined the 17-year-old boy. Sakura grumbled, but agreed to go along anyways. First he talks me into helping him pack, and now this. I must be getting soft. Naruto quickly ushered the pink-haired kunoichi out the brown wooden door. He quickly grabbed his old, but still cute full frog wallet that laid on top of his junky side table. Naruto stepped out the door, joining Sakura in the fresh breeze. Perfect weather, Sakura-chan. Hi, answered Sakura as she looked up at the almost clear blue sky. There was a thin layer of clouds that overcast the sky. The two began to set down to the nearby corner store where ramen was often sold. Naruto glanced up at the cherry blossom-covered tree. It's so beautiful, we're here, exclaimed Sakura happily, breaking Naruto's reverie. Naruto jolted out of his thoughts and pulled open the heavy door. Just as Naruto was roughly nearby, the door was already occupied by someone else. Sakura lowered her jade eyes suspiciously at the man. The silver-haired ex-Anbu stepped out of the store and glanced down at Sakura before resting his eyes on the vivacious blonde-haired shinobi. Naruto, Sakura, what a pleasant surprise, said the smiling face of their former sensei. Yeah, this is a surprise. He doesn't even live on this side of Konoha, thought Sakura warily. Were you going to buy some ramen with Naruto? The question was audibly directed to Sakura. Sakura nodded mutely. You do know that we will be feeding you, right Naruto? Asked Kakashi with mock concern. Naruto's cheek had a twinge of pink, but ignored the question. Will there be any ramen? Is ramen the only thing you think about? Queried Kakashi as he rubbed a sore spot on his back. Well, began Naruto. Nay, you never answered my question. Will there be ramen? No, none at all, answered Kakashi merrily. Well, I best be off now. Yeah. Naruto pushed open the door again and headed towards the ramen aisle. It seemed to be empty. Damn it, thought Naruto as he began to walk over to the gray counter. Nay, old man, I would like a 24-pack of ramen please, Naruto said, feeling happy. The store manager looked up at the hyper shinobi. I'm afraid that we're sold out, Naruto, the man said softly, his eyes crinkled. Shit, why do these things always happen to me? Groaned Naruto. I'm going to die if I don't get to eat any. Who knows where we're going? Naruto, shut up, please, hissed Sakura as she fretfully apologized to the old man behind the counter. Sakura nudged Naruto out the door. Why don't we go back and finish packing? Asked Sakura, distracting Naruto's mind off ramen for a while, as they walked on the red and brown cobblestone sidewalk. Sure, muttered Naruto, why do you think that Kakashi-sensei and the other senseis won't tell us where we're going? Sakura concentrated on the sidewalk. To be honest, I don't really know. They probably thought that it'd be interesting to not tell us. So then, we won't be prepared for wherever we're going. That's just a guess though, she added hastily. Sakura-chan, do you have any ideas of what I should pack? Asked Naruto hopefully. Ra flopped down on Naruto's lumpy orange couch. The afternoon was exhausting. Sakura had the task of sorting through Naruto's clothes. They were strewn all over the place. In the closet, on the floor, on the kitchen table. Sakura-chan, started Naruto. I'm going out to dinner with a few people tonight. Wait, let's rephrase that. I'm going out to dinner with many people tonight. Hinata's coming. Hiba, Shikamaru, Ino, Choji. Tenten's coming. She convinced Neji to come too. Basically, everyone's coming. Sakura smiled. Sure, my mom's not expecting me for dinner anyways. Naruto grinned brightly. Okay, be it. The hot pot house, at 6. I reserved it under my last name, said Naruto, exaggerating the word, my. Bring money too. I'm only paying for my own meal, Our added with a cheeky grin. Sakura nodded. I'm going home to change and pack now. Sakura began to walk to the brown wooden door. Ya, said Sakura softly as she walked through the door. She heard the muffled voice of Naruto saying bye. Before closing the door gently, Sakura walked slowly back to her home, enjoying the sunshine. She had known Naruto and Sasuke since she was 12. Already 5 years had passed, yet everything was different. The days of Team 7 were over. It was just another memory lingering in her mind. It had been such a long time since the gang had been together. Sakura stopped and she came to her favorite spot in Konoha. The sakura blossoms were littering the ground. Sakura walked up to the tree and sat down and leaned her back against it. Sakura, said a voice behind her back. She recognized it as Sasuke's voice. The inflection in his tone gave no emotion. As usual, it had been 3 years since Sakura had stopped acting like a fool, chasing him. Yet, she knew that deep down, she still loved him. Even Ino had given up. It seemed that even Sakura herself couldn't melt the ice in his heart. Deep down, she loved him, though she wouldn't act a fool chasing him anymore. Hi, answered Sakura, her back still to him. Why are you here? Did you want to talk? No, answered Sasuke. Oh, well, everyone's going to hot pot later on tonight. Are you coming? Inquired Sakura. Maybe. Haven't seen the others for a while. Sakura silently agreed. It really has been too long. Well, I have to go home and pack now. I'll see you around, I suppose, Sakura finished off, coldly as she continued walking down the cobblestone sidewalk. Later, Sakura had finished packing for the trip. She folded everything neatly into her suitcase. She sighed and picked up the framed picture of the old Team 7 that she kept safely on her clutter-free desk. Memories that she yearned for flooded through her mind, haunting her. They were the best of friends back then. But now, she wouldn't dare say that they were all still friends. He's too caught up in his goal of being an Avenger, thought Sakura bitterly. Sakura walked up to her closet and pulled out some more casual cloth to wear other than her usual daily ninja clothes. She scanned around her closet until she found what she was looking for. The pink-haired teenager pulled out a light pink top and white jeans and laid them down on her bed. Sakura-chan, called Sakura's mom. Hi, are you going out later? Yeah, so don't cook dinner for me, answered Sakura as she got changed. Sakura grabbed her wallet and stuffed it into her bag and walked into fresh crisp air. She had a tendency for being the early one there. Sakura pushed open that glass door to the restaurant. A waiter came up to her. Do you have a reservation? Hi, Uzumaki. The waiter led her to the noisy people where Hinata, Neji, Hiba, Shino, and Naruto were. Wow, and I thought that I'd be early, exclaimed Sakura as she took a seat on the colorful chair. She took a menu from the pile in the center of the table and flipped through it absently. After everyone arrived, Naruto called the waiter to take their order. What would you like? Asked the waiter with a bored expression. Chef's hot pot special for 12 people onegai. Okay. Any drinks? Asked the waiter hesitantly. Hiba glanced up and scratched his neck. Nay, Neji, Tenten, Lee. You three are of age. Would you like any drinks? Beer maybe? He asked eagerly as he intently watched the 3 cautious chunins. Hey, share some beer with me, okay? Naruto said cheerfully. Sakura kicked Naruto under the table. Sometimes, I don't know what's wrong with you. She hissed at him. The 3 chunins shook their heads stonily, as if having alcohol was a crime. Hiba looked disappointed. Okay, pop for all of us please. The waiter left with their orders, and a conversation stirred up. Sakura listened to Ino's chatter. Do you think that we're going to go somewhere warm or cold? Damn them, I don't know what to pack for. Sakura tuned in and out as she looked down into her pop. Nay, maybe we should trash Kakashi-sensei's apartment tonight for fun, said the blonde spiky-haired ninja. Do you mean inside his apartment? Asked Ino excitedly as she swung her silky blonde hair over her shoulder. Inside, of course. We can go to the store and buy eggs, toilet paper, and lots of sticky honey. Or molasses. Hell yeah, cheered on inner Sakura. Sakura smiled. Are you sure that it'll work? She asked dubiously. It will work, said Naruto adamantly, as he poked his chopsticks into the thinly cut pork and stuck it into the pot of boiling soup. Sakura didn't say anything as she took a sip of her drink. The idea sounded appealing, but if it didn't work. The waiter came by, refilling their drinks. The look of regret was on his face, most likely regretting that he applied for the job in the first place, having to serve a bunch of talkative 17 and 18-year-olds. The night was long, although it flew by quick. Soon, the last piece of meat was swimming in the pot. Kiba picked up his chopsticks and reached over for the meat. Yet, before his chopsticks reached the meat, Choji used the back of his chopstick to poke Kiba's hand away. Only I can eat the last piece of meat that remains from our tasty dinner, exclaimed Choji. Does it really matter, fat ass? Asked Ino. I'm not fat, I'm big-boned, yelled Choji, causing several tables to stare. Ino, began Shikamaru through gritted teeth, do you have to say that every time? I don't. It's the truth though, and you know it. Why can't you ever stand up for yourself? An argument stirred up, with Ino, Shikamaru, and Choji arguing, yelling, driving everyone else insane. I think the rest of us will just be leaving now, muttered Kiba as he patted Akamaru tenderly on his head. Everyone slapped a couple 20s on the table and left for the glass door. Shikamaru, Ino and Choji followed them anyways. Their argument had finally ended. Have a nice day, said the waiter meekly. Yosh, shouted Naruto. Let's go to the store and buy, haha, toilet paper, eggs, and sticky honey. He dropped his voice to a whisper. Then we can trash Kakashi-sensei's house. Okay, here's the plan. We'll open his window. I stuck gum there so it won't close properly the other day. And we'll just throw the stuff in through the window, so it'll be harder for him to sense our chakra. Are you sure that this'll work? He's a Junin. How can he not sense our chakra? Asked Ten disbelief. Trust me on this one, answered Naruto proudly as he scratched the itchy spot on his back. After what happened after last time, snorted Neji, his cold white eyes hardening. Last time was an accident though. Naruto grumbled. Damn that Hyuga, and his memory. The Chunins carefully walked up the stairs to the door of Kakashi's apartment. Naruto carefully wedged open the window with a tree branch. Throw the eggs first, someone whispered. They picked up a few eggs each, and randomly threw it inside of Kakashi's apartment. Squirt the honey next, someone else whispered. Hinata handed Naruto the honey. She blushed heavily, but thankfully, it was dark. Naruto squirted the honey all over the carpet. He saw a glint of orange lying on the coffee table. Kakashi-sensei's Ika Paradise. Yosh, I'll cover the whole book in honey. Naruto was handed another bottle of honey. He twisted open the yellow cap and aimed for the Ika Paradise collection. Suddenly, the fluorescent light turned on, blinding Naruto, whose head was inside the apartment, his body outside the window. Naruto gulped as Kakashi entered the room, still in his usual Junin clothes. He looked angry. You, are all your friends will be cleaning up my apartment until it's spotless, and one of you, will get me a brand new hardcover edition of Icha Paradise. Is that clear? Kakashi's voice was dangerously cold. Naruto gulped nervously and nodded. Naruto stuck his head back outside. They turned the doorknob, finding that it was unlocked. Kakashi was already in his bedroom, his door closed. Kuso, we should have known better than have listened to your plan, hissed Kiba as he grabbed a mop, located by the door, and began mopping up some of the mess. Gomen, muttered Naruto, his yes downcast as he started picking some of the eggshells on the carpet. 5 a.m. still at Kakashi's apartment. The apartment was nearly clean. They rented one of those carpet cleaners, which got of almost all the stains, but one. It still won't come off? Asked Sakura as she rubbed her tired eyes. No, came the muffled reply from Tenten. Kuso, scorned Sasuke, We still have to get the HINATA Paradise series for Kakashi. Naruto snorted. I'm still underage. The only ones who can get it are Tenten, Neji, and Lee. Can you get it, Tenten? Tenten looked up with a disgusted look on her face. No way. By the way, I'm still trying to get this damn stain off, finished Tenten firmly. Neji glared at Naruto, so he decided to not ask him and asked Rock Lee instead. Yosh, I will buy back Kakashi's HINATA Paradise. He gave a wink and left out the door. Wow, began Sakura, he sure agreed quickly. She thought for a moment. Her voice dropped to a hush. Do you think it's because he wants to peek into it? Asked Sakura, as bad thoughts ran through her mind. After 10 minutes, Rock Lee came back with the books tightly sealed in the bag. He looked a bit flushed. Here, he began. Just leave it on the coffee table. Sakura looked at him suspiciously but didn't want to think Lee reading HINATA Paradise. The apartment was finally clean, cleaner than before they made the mess. It was nearing 5:30 a.m. and they'd have to get up bright and early in the morning. It was already morning. Finally, we get to go home and sleep, said Naruto as a yawn escaped his mouth. Everyone nodded in agreement. Sakura dragged herself back to her home, which was located 5 blocks away from Kakashi-sensei's apartment. As she was a few houses away from her house, she reached in to her pocket and pulled out the silver key. She stuck the key into the keyhole and turned the doorknob quietly. Her parents were already asleep. She walked up the stairs and grabbed a pair of fresh pajamas from the laundry basket and took a quick shower before retiring for what was left of the night. The next morning former teams of 7, 8, 10, and 13 gathered around in the waiting room of Tokyo's airport. With bags and rings under their eyes, Asuma, Kurenai, and Guy were already there. It was a wonder how they got there so early. What's wrong with you all? Asked Asuma with the cigarette still in his mouth. It looks as if you haven't slept all night. He waited for a reply but didn't get one. He raised an eyebrow at Kurenai and mouthed to her, must be partying. The Junin shrugged. By the way, Guy, have you seen Kakashi yet? Guy shook his head. I told him that the plane leaves half an hour than it really does. Hoping that he'll be half an hour earlier. Kurenai informed them all. They impatiently waited for a certain silver-haired Junin. He finally arrived, carrying 4 large bags of luggage. Sorry that I'm late. Kakashi glanced at his watch. Only 40 minutes late. Pretty good actually. Well, it's a really funny story actually. This morning, right after I got out the door. Save the excuse, said Guy sourly. Will you tell us where we're going? Murmured Tenten, her eyes partly close. We'll tell you later, said Asuma. They got on the plane, thankfully without being late. Sakura sighed happily, glad that she'd be able to get a good night's sleep. She only slept for about half an hour last night, before she was woken up by her parents. She then quickly rushed to the airport. Kakashi, don't you think that we should tell them where we're going? Asked Asuma. Nope, not yet. Maybe when we get there, said Kakashi. After Sakura sat down her assigned seat next to Ino Pig, she pulled out her day bag from the baggage rack. She unzipped the front of her bag and pulled out her magazine. She flipped through the few pages of advertisements and quickly scanned through the table of contents. Nothing in particular caught her eye. Sakura could hear the muffled voice of Kakashi, put on your seatbelts children. Remember, safety first. Sakura clenched her fists together and had a strong urge to go up to Kakashi and punch his eyes out. She sunk deeper in her seat knowing that she wasn't even half as strong as Kakashi, she wasn't anywhere close. Her head turned when she heard the deep annoyed voice of Shikamaru. Mendo Kus, muttered Shikamaru. It was so typical of him to say that. Sakura caught Ino rolling her pretty blue eyes. Nay, Sakura-chan, said the bubbly blonde-haired boy, quickly getting Sakura's attention. Sakura gave a small smile and nodded. I wonder where we're going. I hope it's somewhere nice and warm with palm trees, and pretty tropical flowers, with nice blue water. It was then that Sakura started to tune out. 10 minutes later, Naruto was still talking, on and on and on. Sakura was starting to feel a headache coming. Maybe it was Naruto's chatter, or maybe it was just the unstableness of the plane. Naruto, began Sakura, cutting Naruto off. I'm not feeling so well. Maybe we can talk later. Naruto agreed, feeling slightly disappointed, and sat back down on his seat, beside Sasuke Baka. Sakura's eyes started to get blurry. She closed her eyes and drifted off into a dreamless sleep. A few hours later, Sakura woke with a start as the plane gave another lurch. Sakura Groa. Neden rolled over on her seat and faced the window. She hated planes. There was never anything to do. Well, nothing that she wanted to do. The chatter and laughter of the Konoha Chunins and other strangers surrounded her. She took out some Tylenol and swallowed it with great difficulty along with some water, hoping to clear her killer headache. Ino turned around to face Sakura. "You wanna play big too?" asked Ino, holding a small pack of cards. "No thanks," said Sakura meekly. Ino sighed and tried to recruit others to join, for a game of big two. The 12 Chunins hopped off of the small plane, along with their senseis, and looked around their surrounding incredulously. Snow, snow and more snow, with dark green fir trees everywhere. Their thin jackets certainly did not help with the cold. Ten wrapped her blue jacket around herself, attempting to keep warm, but failing. So much for somewhere warm with palm trees and clear blue water. "Skiing," said Kakashi enthusiastically, while looking down upon the doubtful Chunins. Anyo saw. I wanted go somewhere nice and sunny though," shouted the blonde-haired Chunins, making everyone wince. "Instead, we're stuck here." Quote, "Mendo kus," muttered a very annoyed Shikamaru again. He threw his head back and watched the low clouds pass slowly by. A few short moments passed, Shikamaru, still watching the clouds, and the air thick with tension. "I rather watch the clouds all day long than to be here stuck with Ino," thought the chestnut-haired Chunins. The sky seemed slightly hazy, yet he could still see the sun clearly. Shikamaru's thoughts abruptly ended when a certain long blonde-haired Kunoichi prodded him hard on his back. "Get moving, you're not really going to stand here all day watching the clouds, are you?" said Ino. Her voice made him wince. Shikamaru didn't say anything. He tried hard not to look into those pretty eyes of hers. "Wait, where did that come from?" Ino sighed. Sometimes, she wished she didn't even know Shikamaru. Ino's eyes started to wander, and landed on Sasuke. She had to admit, well, she had always admitted this, but he was irresistibly hot. His character wasn't that hot, but his appearance sure was. She looked at his cold onyx eyes, she followed his gaze, and it led her straight to Sakura. An evil smirk crept up on Ino's face. Later, Sakura was carefully refolding her clothes from her suitcase to the drawers. She was apparently sharing a room with who else? Ino. Ino was nowhere to be seen. In fact, she hadn't seen anyone for a while. A shriek filled the air. The noise was coming from outside. Sakura treaded over Ino's suitcase and looked outside the window. The air was thick with flying snowballs. A large smile plastered over her face as she grabbed her warm jacket from E-coat rack and headed out the large door. Splat! A perfectly round fluffy snowball nearly missed her head and hit the nearby window, making the glass shake. "Nay, Sakura-chan, come join us," cried Naruto. "Sure," replied Sakura, gladly accepting the invitation. Soon enough, the small snowball fight that consisted of Ino, Tenten, Naruto, and Shikamaru, became a snowball war when Choji, Hinata, Kiba, Rock Lee, and even Sasuke and Neji joined in. They quickly decided that it'd be girls versus guys. Although the guys had the advantage with 7 boys whereas the girls only had 4, the girls were still whining. Due to Tenten's amazing aim, Shikamaru ducked as another snowball came flying. He didn't duck fast enough, for the large snowball hit him squarely in the back. "Nani, what was that for?" asked the annoyed Shikamaru. Ino sighed. "It is a snowball fi war. Is it not?" Hinata formed a snowball and threw it attentively at Kiba. Lucky for Kiba as he quickly ducked with his quick reflexes. It hit Naruto on the back of his head. Hinata watched horrified as the snowball exploded on and stuck onto Naruto's spiky blonde hair. I'm so sorry and Naruto-kun," stuttered Hinata, the fear evident in her voice. Naruto shot her a wide foxy grin. "Soke, Hinata-chan." Hinata felt her heart expand as she heard Naruto call her Hinata-chan. Not that it was the first time he added the chan suffix. It was just that every time he called her name, she'd feel a blush crawl up her cheek, and her heart expand. She loved him so much, but he was too thick to see it. Kiba threw a large snow ball at Naruto with quite a lot of force, all the anger emitting out of him. So what if Hinata-chan like him? I saw her first. She should be with me, only me. The snowball flew with such force, but missed Naruto. And instead hit the large window behind Naruto. The shattering of the glass echoed around the air. Shit, growled Kiba loudly. 1 hour later, the snowball fight was long over. It abruptly ended when Kiba shattered that glass of the large window. The window still had a large hole in it, welcoming a large gust of wind and snow inside. The air inside was nearly as cold as outside. Akira walked into the large living room with a white fluffy blanket wrapped around her body to keep warmth. Her hair lay limp trailing across her shoulders. There was no use staying indoors. Being outdoor would have been just as warm. But at least she had a roof over her head. Sakura sighed and felt a breeze sweep by, chilling her feet. It was now that she regretted not bringing her fuzzy pink slippers. She sat curled up on one of the squishy sofa and looked outside, mesmerized by the falling snow, gently covering the trees with another layout of fluffy white snow. The once smooth snow on the ground was now craggy and hard after the intense snowball war. She heard the front door open and close. A few footsteps were heard, then stopped abruptly. Sakura didn't mean to listen in on them. But they were just there. She could hear the faint voice of Shikamaru and Choji talking quietly. She thought it was Shikamaru and Choji. She couldn't be too sure. It's not that. It's just that Sometimes I hate her and sometimes I really. Shikamaru's voice dropped. Sometimes I really love her. You know what I mean. Choji gave a sigh and popped another chip into his mouth. He chewed and swallowed with some difficulty. I don't really want to spend my day talking about Shikamaru. Sakura gave a small smirk but remained quiet. She heard a sigh and the footsteps continued. They were just around the corner now. Shikamaru and Choji nearly walked past the large room, where Sakura was, curled up on the couch. Shikamaru looked at her flabbergasted. He recovered his composure. So, you were here the whole time It was a statement, not a question. I won't tell her, or anyone, promised Sakura. Shikamaru looked at her doubtfully. She had been Ino's best friend. Shikamaru didn't say anything, but gave her a curt nod, and walked away. The footsteps faded out, and Sakura felt more alone than ever. A large hit of a hammer shocked her, and made her jump. She craned her neck to look out the door and saw Kiba hammering a large wooden board to cover the open window, and the room immediately darkened. Sakura sat there for a few moments, staring out at the falling snow. The door opened again, slightly irritating Sakura. There was a loud chatter, containing the voices of Tenten and Ino. They walked into the room and took off their coats, which were wet from the snow. Sakura-chan, it's freezing in here. Why won't you just light the fireplace? Exclaimed Tenten, while rubbing her hands together, creating friction to warm her hands. Sakura smiled. Well, I'm pretty warmed up by now, began Sakura hesitantly. Ino ignored her and performed a few hand seals, and suddenly, a roaring fire appeared in the fireplace. They sat around chatting for a while, talking about a whole variety things. Dinner, said Kakashi in a go-happy voice. The mask was covering his mouth as always, making his words sound slightly muffled. The air was filled with an aroma of ramen. Sakura gave a small prayer, hoping that it wouldn't be only ramen. Instant ramen was one of the things that she opposed to eating. It was unhealthy and gross. It was something that only Naruto would eat. Ride. 3 square meals, any maybe more. Ino, Tenten, and Sakura slowly got up and headed towards the kitchen. Her warm blanket was left on the couch. The fluorescent lights of the kitchen made her eyes feel slightly sore. After coming from the dark room, on the long table, were many bowls of various types of ramen, including miso, shrimp, pork, and chicken. The steam that emitted from the ramen left the room steamy and warm. Sakura edged closer to Kakashi, who was waiting for another pack of ramen to cook by the stove. Kakashi-sensei, began Sakura attentively, is there anything else other than ramen that I can eat? Kakashi surveyed his pink-haired student. She had certainly grown over the years. He neglected her that time, when he was training Sasuke and Naruto with Jiraiya. She then went to Tsunade for help, and trained with her instead. She still was nowhere as close as Naruto, Sasuke, or himself. But she was stronger than he thought she'd ever be. Kakashi smiled under his black face mask. "Afraid not," he said cheerfully. He lifted the lid off the noodles and gave it a peek and shut it closed again. Sakura furrowed her brow. "Can I just go out and have dinner at a restaurant or something?" Kakashi shrugged and turned back to the stove and gave the noodles a good stir. "If you want. Naruto will finish the ramen anyways." Sakura smiled a thanks. She got Ino, Sakura, 10-10, and Hinata to go with her. She was upstairs in her shared room with Ino, packing some money, keys, and some other items into her small black purse. She pulled out her white puffy from the closet and quickly put it on along with a blue scarf. Good thing her mom suggested her to bring it. She waited in the hallway waiting for the others to get their stuff. There was an ODD burning smell that lingered around in the air. It could be just smoke from the fireplace. It also could be something really burning. "Wait for me please," she called over her back to Ino as she hurried down the stairs. She quickly located the area of burning. The kitchen. She rushed in and found the ramen that Kakashi was cooking, burning. The flames surrounded the element and the pot. Sakura quickly turned off the stove and killed the lid with a large lid nearby. "Kakashi-sensei!" screamed Sakura with frustration. Kakashi appeared at the doorway with his Ika Ika Paradise book in his hand. He noticed Sakura's burning gaze towards it and quickly shoved it in his gave a sheepish smile that was hidden underneath his mask. "Oops, I guess I left the stove unattended." Everyone's sweat dropped. Typical Kakashi. It was a new day. The sun rose over the horizon, sparkling on the white fluffy snow. Sakura woke up sleepy-eyed. She was still in her bed, staring blankly at the low white ceiling. She opened her mouth widely and stifled a loud yawn. She felt a crank in her neck. She must have slept funny during the night. Sakura's blue-eyed roommate rolled over and rubbed her eyes. "Sheesh, Sakura, some people are trying to sleep. It's difficult when the first thing they hear when they wake up is a stupid excuse for a kunoichi yawning loudly enough for someone to fall in their mouth," muttered Ino, her eyes still closed. Sakura rolled her eyes at Ino. She pulled off her blankets and covers, then she headed towards the bathroom door. "I wasn't even that loud," she grumbled. Sakura closed the bathroom door behind her, making sure it was locked and quickly changed into a warm white sweater. She splashed cold water onto her face. She looked up into the frayed mirror. Her reflection looked peaky. Sakura brushed her teeth thoroughly. Plaque was never a good way to start a day. She gargled and rinsed quickly. She hated that sound. The gargling. There was a loud knock on the door. "Nay, are you done yet?" asked a loud rushed voice. Obviously it was Naruto. "Nearly," answered Sakura as she brushed her pink locks straight. "Hurry, I have to go." Sakura didn't answer as she quickly finished up. After a short amount of time, she opened the door. Not surprisingly, Naruto quickly rushed in, roughly pushing Sakura out, and closed the door hurriedly. Sakura headed down the stairs. The air seemed to get colder and colder by each step. She headed towards the cozy kitchen and pulled out the cereal from the cupboards before heading towards the fridge for milk. She found a glass bowl in the silver metal dish rack. She poured the milk into the bowl and ate her meal silently. The kitchen was oddly empty. She was to meet with her sensei at 6:05 sharp. Knowing Kakashi, he'd be there 45 minutes late, or somewhere around there. Sakura finished her breakfast quickly. She felt slightly isolated. No one seemed to be awake, if you didn't count Naruto, of course. Well, if they were, they weren't here. She washed her dishes quickly and left them to dry on the dish rack. Sakura tied her hair in a high ponytail with a lime green hair band that she left on her wrist yesterday. Sakura took her coat off the coat hanger and put the warm black overcoat on. It was still 5:45. She had 20 minutes to waste before Team 7's meeting. Sakura pulled open the large oak door and stepped out into the sun. The air was chilly and the snow was sparkling. Sakura walked for a few minutes and stopped by a large fir tree. She breathed in the fresh pine smell. It was one of her favorite scents ever. She wouldn't mind staying here forever. It was precisely 6:05. Oddly enough, it seemed that all teams were meeting there at the same time. The 12 Chunins and 3 senseis waited in front of the large lodge for a certain ex-Anbu member. Ino glanced around, infuriated with the cold. She too was here, to meet her sensei, along with everyone else. Ino rubbed her hands toge there before pulling a pair of mittens from her coat pocket. It's freezing, she breathed. Yeah, must be at least negative something degrees out here, Ten agreed. Ten shuffled her feet around the snow. Are we doing anything in particular today, Guy-sensei? She asked her mentor. Guy turned to face his young pupil. Skiing, I suppose. It was Kakashi who had plans, really, he replied. Oi Sakura-chan, let's go skiing together, Naruto suggested loudly as he formed a large snowball in the palms of his hand. Shikamaru gave an annoyed sigh and glanced over at Naruto. It's not like the whole world can't hear you already. Quote. Naruto glared at Shikamaru. Shut up, Shikamaru. It's none of your business, Naruto said incoherently. They waited impatiently for Kakashi to finally come. Can't we just start without him? Asked Ten, exasperated. Kurenai sighed. He said he had important plans that he refused to share with anyone. Oh my god, why does this always happen? Groaned Kiba. I dunno, he's always like this, explained Naruto. He blinked a few times. The snow's so bright that it's hurting my eyes. About 45 minutes later, Kakashi arrived. The usual shout of, "You're late," came from a frustrated Sakura and an angry Naruto. Well, you see, I was taking a walk, and I saw a little boy building a snowman. He couldn't get the head on because it was too heavy, so I had to help him. I didn't know time was passing so quickly, so I stayed with him to make a whole family of Snow Peep. Kakashi started off but was interrupted by a loud shout of, "Liar. You cut me off." But still, that's got to be the longest on yet, said Kakashi, trying to sound upset, but they could hear a slight proud tone in his voice. Kurenai sighed and asked Kakashi, so what did you want them to do today? Well, it's really simple actually. I was just planning on having them ski in partners or something today. Nani? We waited 45 minutes for you to arrive and this is all we've been waiting to hear. Naruto shouted. Hee. Kakashi chuckled. His visible eye was crinkling. The Chunins ignored him and found their way to the ski rental lodge. Only to find an incredibly long lineup. How troublesome, grumbled Shikamaru. This is as long as the Great Wall of China, he exaggerated. So we have to go in partners, asked Kiba with Akamaru taking a nap in his hood. Choji swallowed his potato chips and said, I guess so. There was a loud rustle of a chip bag as Choji reached his hands into the bag for another chip. Hinata gulped. It's now or never. She nudged Naruto lightly, and Naruto-kun. Do you want to go skiing together? She asked nervously, wanting to hear his answer, yet she knew she'd be regretting her words if he said no. Naruto scratched his head and mumbled something that sounded like, I was thinking of going with Sakura-chan, but it doesn't really matter. Sakura-chan probably wouldn't want to be my partner anyways, so sure. Hinata's face brightened. Good. But her face fell slightly. And Naruto-kun. Do you know how to ski? Nah. Never been skiing, Naruto said. Never bothered. Seems kind of difficult to ski on two metal sticks. Oh. Hinata said softly. Hinata turned her head sideways and bit her lip. She had never been skiing either. Meanwhile, Sakura and Ino were looking at Sasuke, who still had their back towards them. They tried not to look too hopeful or eager. Sasuke-kun, called Ino. You wanna be partners? She asked him suggestively. Her hands were tucked warmly into her coat pockets. She wasn't used to all this cold weather. Sasuke didn't even bother to turn around as they heard him say monotonously, no. It wasn't unusual, you could say that it was more expected than anything else. Ino looked slightly alarmed. Well, if you don't want to go with me, who will you go with? She said pointingly. Kiba, who was indeed listening into their conversation, piped in, I can go with Sasuke. Since I don't have a partner anyways. Is that okay? Kiba, you're going with Kiba, shrieked Ino loudly, shattering Sakura's eardrum, yet again. There was a flurry of annoyance written over Kiba's face. Is there something wrong with me? He asked, annoyed. No, not really, muttered Ino. Disappointment was clearly in her voice. Ino scanned her eyes quickly. Shikamaru. She screeched. Seeing how annoyed he was, she lowered her voice. You wanna be partners? How troublesome, he began. But was hit on the head by Ino, are you calling me troublesome, Shikamaru-kun, Shika? Maru shivered at the way she added the kun suffix. He shook his head to clear the little stars circling his head. I was going to say yes, but I really need a partner though, whined Ino. She looked at him eagerly. Please. Fine then. The last thing Shikamaru needed was another punch in the head. Although those little stars were kinda cool. Sakura walked over to Naruto. Naruto grinned widely. I'm going skiing with Hinata-chan, Naruto said happily. But I don't know how to ski. His face fell slightly. Oh, Sakura said quietly. She heard someone's footsteps running behind her. Then slowing down, she turned around and faced Rock Lee. Sakura-chan, partners? Asked a boy with an abnormal shiny bowl head bob. Sakura hid her grimace. She really should have been nicer to Lee in the past. Sure. She shrugged. She needed to find a partner at one point or the other. Sure. Sakura replied, smiling. Rock Lee's eyes shone happily. Sakura looked over at him, bewildered. She always knew that Lee was a bit odd. It turned out that Neji was partners with Ten-Ten. He looked over at Ten-Ten apprehensively. She wouldn't be the best partner, but at least he wouldn't be stuck with Naruto. They immediately waited in the incredibly long line. The air was still icy cold. There wasn't an improvement from the morning. Choji said, I'm hungry. Let's go get hot chocolate for everyone then, said Naruto in a bored tone as he fiddled with his fingers. I'll go. Anyone else want to come? I'll come, muffled Choji as he stuck the empty chip bag into his pocket. Kiba glanced up. Sure, I'll come as well. Here's your hot chocolate, Hinata-chan, said Naruto happily as he handed the hot chocolate to the lavender-eyed girl. Hinata smiled. TT thank you and Naruto-kun, she said apprehensively. No problem, Naruto said sincerely, smiling his foxy grin. Everyone was sitting on the snow sipping their hot chocolate. A loud sigh was heard. Almost there now. Should only take about 5 minutes, said Shikamaru. He finished off with his infamous quote, how troublesome. Finally, they got their ski shoes, skis, and ski poles sorted out. This sure turned out to be a troublesome day. At least things would improve from now on. Said Sakura, how do the ski shoes connect to the skis? I think you slip it on, said Kiba. Shikamaru had that look on his face when he knew the answer, but wanted to give someone else a chance to answer. While everyone else was discussing how to attach the ski shoes to the skis itself, Shikamaru quickly attached the skis shoes to the skis. Shikamaru skied over to Ino. Hurry up, will you? I can't put on my skis. Ino snapped. Shikamaru sighed and helped her put on the skis. When they were set to go, they skied awkwardly away, leaving the rest of the Chunins dumbfounded. The Chunins sat on the powder-white snow with confused and annoyed looks on their faces. Naruto opened his mouth to speak when a huge wave of snow sprayed over the Chunins and into Naruto's opened mouth. Naruto spat the snow out angry. He looked up and saw his sensei, Kakashi. But before he could complain, Kakashi spoke. Hello my hopeless ninja wannabes, said Kakashi happily. Kakashi looked around and saw 10 angry faces directed to him, 2 giving him death glares. What the hell, we are ninjas, thought Ino, frustrated at Kakashi's stupid comment. Naruto again opened his mouth. This time, he got the chance to speak. Oi Kakashi-sensei. What was that for? Kakashi had an innocent look on his face. What was what for? Akashi's grin was hidden underneath his mask as he watched the 12's baffled expressions. Ino ignored his last comment. How does this? She motioned to her ski, and this, she then motioned towards her ski shoes, attached together. Kakashi forged confusion on his face. I honestly do not know, he lied with a shrug. Kakashi looked down at his watch. Well, I best be going now. Kakashi snowboarded away, leaving the 12 exasperated. It was a good 15 minutes before they figured it out. Ino and Shikamaru slowly edged closer to the ski lift. Shikamaru, being the genius that he was, immediately noticed that the ski lifts were extremely small for 2 people. I like my head undented. I should just not say anything. Shikamaru sat on the wooden bench awkwardly next to Ino. It was rather tight there. Move over a bit, said Ino with a grin. She gave Shikamaru a small playful nudge. By the small playful nudge turned out into a not so playful nudge. Ino watched Shikamaru lost his balance and as he began to fall off the ski fall. Ino saw Shikamaru land with a soft thump on the snow. The snow sprayed everywhere. Her eyes widened. Ino carefully jumped off the ski lift and joined Shikamaru on the ground. "Are you okay?" she asked in alarm, her eyes wide and scared. Shikamaru still laid there. His eyes were opened looking at the dark clouds. "The clouds sure are pretty today. It may be dark and cloudy, but the clouds are still pretty," thought Shikamaru happily. Ino said sharply, "Answer me." Shikamaru slowly sat up, rubbing the sore spot on his back and spoke, "Look. The ski lift is obviously only for one person. You just had to drag me along." Before she could defend herself, a loud voice interrupted the two of them. "Oi, Shikamaru, are you all right?" asked the blonde-hair ninja. Closely followed by Hinata. Hinata said shyly, "We could see a figure fall from the ski lift. But we didn't know who it was, the trees were in the way." Naruto grinned his fox-like way and said, "Well, now we know." He laughed, "How do you fall off a ski lift anyways?" Shikamaru glanced at Naruto with an annoyed look on his face. "Sheesh, can anyone be more annoying than you?" Naruto pretended to look offended and said, "Why would you say such a thing? I'm not annoying." Then he broke out into a wide smile, "Just kidding. I know I'm annoying. It's the #1 rule to be me, Naruto." Shikamaru sighed, "You're so troublesome." Sometime in the afternoon, after everyone had their fun skiing, they all met back in the lodge. Sakura was sitting in the living room along with the other Chunins. She was listening to Ino talk, although she wasn't really listening. Sakura caught a few words of what Ino was saying. "There's dance at Don't Dates." Sakura's jade eyes got wider. "A dance? I doubt that he would want to come along." "Hell yeah," laughed inner Sakura. Sakura looked around at the group of Chunins. Finding that she wasn't the only one genuinely interested, Tenten also looked excited and Hinata's pearl-colored eyes shone more brightly than usual. The boys, most of them, looked mildly interested. "When is it?" Ino rolled her eyes and directed her gaze to Sakura. "Haven't you been listening to what I've been saying for the She looked at her watch, "last 5 minutes." Sakura glared at Ino. "Just answer me, Ino pig." No glared back at Sakura but answered her question anyways. "The dance will be held tonight at a lodge nearby, but we won't be able to pick dates. It'll be like a random draw thingy. It's kind of odd, but I suppose that it'll be fun to come along anyway." Sakura looked down and bit her lip. "So soon? I better get ready then." Tenten said, "I'm glad my mom made me bring a nice dress." So the girls walked up the stairs to their rooms. Sakura pulled out her suitcase and reached for a slightly crumpled long and flowing dark red dress. Sakura turned to face Ino. "I'm glad that we all decided to bring a dress even though we didn't think that we would need it." Ino looked at her and said, "I'm just glad that you clammed down." Sakura laughed and agreed with her. "Ino, do you have an ironer with you?" She heard Ino's muffled reply, "Of course, it's in the drawer." She wanted to make an effort for tonight. Who cares if she wouldn't be with Sasuke? It wasn't like he would agree to go with her anyway. However, he did agree to come along with all of them. She put down the iron and paused for a moment. She could always try to blow him away. There was a few raps on the door. "Who is it?" asked Ino. Sakura heard the faint reply of Tenten and Hinata. "Oh," began Ino. "It's unlocked." The door swung open and Tenten walked in, holding a long black dress. She was followed by Hinata who was holding a white dress. "Ino, do you have an ironer?" asked Tenten. That's what Sakura just asked me." "Yes, I have one. You can use it after Sakura's done." After all the girls were ready, they walked downstairs to meet the guys. They weren't going as dates but they decided that they would at least walk to the dance together. Sasuke was impatiently waiting for them to come down. He didn't really want to go. But if everyone else were going, he would go too. Sasuke gave a glare at the blank wall ahead of him. It wasn't like he wanted to go along anyway, but he might as well go if everyone else would be going. When he saw Sakura walk down the stairs, he was shocked. After all these years, he hadn't really noticed how much Sakura had grown. She was wearing a long dark red flowing dress and her soft pink hair was piled on top of her head with wavy strands falling down, gently framing her near flawless face. Sakura caught his eye and smiled. Sasuke grumbled and averted his gaze. God, he's hot, Sakura thought with a dreamy smile but wiped it off her face quickly. We better get going now, said Ino, breaking Sakura's reverie. It'll be starting any moment now. They walked down a snowy trail that headed the lodge where the dance would be held. When they reached the place, it was oddly silent, the music wasn't even on. The room was dark with some color. Full flashing loud lights and streamers that hung from the ceiling, decorating the normally bland white walls. She saw a pretty girl with dark hair who was already talking to a fairly large group of people. They walked closer to hear what she was saying. All right, so, it'll be a draw for all of you who don't know. I'll hand out slips of paper and you'll have to write your names on it and I'll put it in a hat and draw out the dates, said the dark-haired girl excitedly. She had a perky voice that made it hard to listen to. Sakura accepted a slip of paper from the girl and wrote her name on it. After the girl received all the slips, she put them in a jar and mixed the papers around. The girl called out some pairs that she didn't know. She waited until she heard Tenten's name called. And Tenten will be with Neji. Tenten's lucky. She at least got someone from Konoha. I doubt the rest of us won't be so lucky. Sakura was with a pretty good-looking guy. He wasn't really comparable to the Uchiha himself though. Sasuke on the other hand was with the dark-haired girl that was holding the dance. Sakura could hear her talk to Sasuke. Oh my gosh, you're Sasuke. I'm so lucky. Has anyone told you that you're really good-looking? From across the room, Sakura could see the girl cling to Sasuke's arm. She could already see that Sasuke strongly disliked his date. Sakura turned around to face her date and smiled. He was even hotter up close. Sasuke glanced over his shoulder, trying to get away from his extremely annoying date. No matter where he went, his date would surely be right behind him. The girl would have been pretty, except her lips. Her fish lips. Sasuke walked to the refreshments table to pour himself some of the punch. Sasuke looked at the punch before drinking it. A thought ran through his head. What if someone spiked it? He shrugged and decided to take a sip anyways. He walked back to one of the small squashy couches and sat down. After a couple of moments, someone else sat down beside him. Without having to look up, he immediately knew that it was the annoying girl. Sasuke turned his head towards the annoying girl. Will you just go away? Sasuke asked sharply. His onyx eyes flashed in the dark room. But we're dates. The blonde-haired girl protested. Sasuke gave her a glare. He knew that they were dates. He just didn't want to be around her. The whole idea of going to the dance was stupid. It was Sakura and Ino who wanted to go. They managed to somehow drag everyone else along as well. Sasuke looked past the annoying girl and saw Sakura dancing with a guy he didn't know. He felt a funny feeling in his stomach, but he pushed the feeling out of his stomach and sat moodily on the couch. It had been such a long time since Sakura had gone dancing. She had to admit that she was having a good time, but only if she could dance with Sasuke. Sakura glanced behind herself. She could see Sasuke grumpily sitting on the couch with his date sitting beside him. It seemed to her that his date was trying to convince him to dance with her. Sakura grinned. She could tell by the look on Sasuke's face that there would be no way he would allow the girl to dance with him. After her thought, her face went suddenly cold. His voice echoed in her mind, "You're annoying." Naruto walked around the room several times, looking for his date, whose name was Asaka. I hope she's pretty. Naruto felt a hard tap on his back. He turned around to face an average-looking girl, but her face looked rather splotchy. The girl took a staggered step forward. Is she drunk? Naruto took a step away from her as the girl slowly and gauchely took several steps toward him. The girl began to speak. Areo Naruto. Hughes ifu air. imyourr. The girl slurred and she gave him a slap on the back. Let's be good friends. Naruto raised an eyebrow. She must really be drunk, judging by the way she walks and talk. So much for a pretty date. Background. Naruto sitting on the floor looking very gloomy. The girl didn't wait for Naruto to answer. Her grubby fingers grabbed Naruto's thin ones, and began to pull him towards the dance floor. No, I don't want to dance with you. Naruto cried out loudly, causing a few people to glance and stare at the awkward pair. If the girl heard what Naruto had said, she didn't seem to show it. Naruto tried to pull away from the girl, but her tight grip prevented him from getting away. OWWW, Kuso. Why does she have to be so strong? Could she be secretly working out? Gross. Naruto shuddered, bad thoughts. Kuso. How can I get away from this drunk girl? I could use my charka. But, I'd probably would injure her if I did, and I don't want that. Then I'd have to help her, but all I want is to get away from her. Kuso. Before he could think of a way to get rid of the girl interrupted him. Let's dance already why, exclaimed the girl. Naruto bit his lower lip. He needed her to be distracted. As he was pretending to tie his shoelaces while the girl was dancing to the jumpy music, not keeping beat and losing her balance a fair few times, Naruto thought of an idea. He knew it was a stupid idea, but a drunk girl would surely fall for it. Look, shouted Naruto. When the girl turned her head sideways and loosened her grip, Naruto got the chance to run away from the girl. He dashed past Sakura, who was dancing with her date, Sasuke and an annoying-looking girl, and a few more people he knew, and ran out the door into the dark night. Hinata walked up to her date, who was pretty good-looking. As soon as she introduced herself, he began to talk animatedly as if they were old friends. Her date definitely had lots of what she was lacking, self-esteem. The guy, his name was Shinaki, was talking non-stop. Hinata began to wonder if he would ever stop talking. Oi, Hinata, is it? Would you like to dance? Asked Shinaki confidently. Hinata glanced at his warm eyes. He was kinda cute. Al thought she couldn't say that he was cuter than Naruto. Hinata blushed at the thought of his name. Sure, answered Hinata timidly. They walked up to the dance floor. Hinata's eyes met a pretty girl's eye. The girl averted her gaze. Would you like to dance? She asked Shinaki innocently. Hinata's date turned around to face her. You don't mind, do you? He asked sincerely. Anyo. No, it's okay. Well then, it's settled. Thanks, Hinata, replied Shinaki happily. Hinata watched Shinaki and the girl disappear into the throng of dancers. Hinata looked around nervously, feeling slightly lost. What could she do? She couldn't hang out with the other leaf nins, they already had dates. Hinata looked around the large bland room and pondered on what she should do. At last, she decided to escape outside, to count the many stars in the night. The room was dimly lit, but he could still see Sakura dance with her date. Sasuke hasn't seen Sakura so happy in such a long time. Sasuke felt his stomach churning inside. This feeling, I haven't felt it since Okasan and Otusan died, but why? It can't be her, can it? If so, why does she affect me the way she does? Kuso. So many questions that I don't have answers for. Sasuke's thoughts were interrupted again by the annoying girl, his date. Please, Sasuke. Just one dance. Pretty please, begged Fish Lips. Sasuke gave the girl a glare and thankfully she backed off. Naruto was sitting on top of a snow-covered roof. It was so peaceful and quiet, maybe too quiet. Naruto looked up at the many stars and began to gingerly count them. Wow, you can see so much more stars here than in Konoha. Must be because I'm on a mountain tonight. Naruto's reveries were broken up when he saw a lone small figure walk out of the lodge where the dance was held. Naruto smiled. He seemed to not be the only one who left. The small shadow was walking towards him. As the figure got closer, he realized that it was Hinata-chan. Nay, Hinata-chan, over here, shouted Naruto excitedly. He could see Hinata blush although they were quite far from each other. Naruto-kun, why you here? Asked Hinata nervously. Oh, well, my date was very drunk. Well, I think she was drunk, I'm not sure, so I came out here to get away from her. Hinata stared at Naruto questionably. She had rarely seen Naruto so serious. So, what about you? Why are you out here? Asked Naruto happily. Hinata was happy to see that Naruto was more like himself. Well, my date got asked to dance with another girl. It's amazing that we're both here alone, asked Naruto. Maybe fate brought them together. Hinata gave a soft laugh. Yeah, I came here to count the stars. Naruto's eyes got larger. That was what I was just doing. Really, it was a statement, not an answer. It was then that Naruto felt connected at her. He often saw Hinata hang around the ramen bar. Maybe, She too liked ramen. Naruto couldn't explain the feeling that he felt inside his chest. It was something he never felt before. Was it love? He didn't know. But his heart loved Sakura-chan, or did it? At the dance, the lights in the city-ing area were dimmed, but the dance floor was alive with obscure lights. Shikamaru was sitting on one of the many ugly, tortured green couches. Shikamaru, may we please just have one dance? I heard you were lazy. But one dance won't kill you, I promise. Cried out Shikamaru's frantic date. Shikamaru rolled his eyes and leisurely turned his head and opened his mouth. No, Shikamaru sighed and glanced up at the bland ceiling. After a few moments of silence, well, as silent as a dance can be, Shikamaru had a thought of maybe dancing with Ino. But then, Ino would certainly not dance with me, she's too involved with that Sasuke. A nasty voice in his head reminded him, I remember you saying that women were troublesome. If they were so troublesome, why would you want to dance with Ino? Do you like her? Huh, do you? Shut up, Baka. If I ever hear your voice again, I'll personally get someone to kill you, Shikamaru hissed to the voice in his head, not realizing that he had just spoken out loud. It wasn't until he observed the voice of his date. What did you say? Shikamaru's date screeched. Shikamaru sighed. Things were so troublesome, I wasn't talking to you. But Shikamaru wasn't able to conclude his sentence before his dates fired back an answer. How can you not be talking to me? I'm the only one here, she hissed. His date stood up and strode angrily out of the room. Shikamaru ruffled his black hair. She didn't take that very well. Damn it, now I'm stuck by myself in this screwed up dance. After his name was called along with his dates, Rock Lee glanced over to his date hopefully. His jaw dropped as his eyes landed on a pretty brunette with her hair put up gracefully. She wore a dark avocado-colored dress. She's so pretty, almost as beautiful as Sakura-chan. Not as beautiful, for no one is more beautiful than Sakura-chan. No one, thought Lee proudly. Rock Lee walked up to his date. He flashed her a bright smile. It was a nice smile, but not as nice as Guy-sensei in his opinion. But good enough. Although it was a dance, Rock Lee was still in his usual green and orange spandex outfit. Damn, I'm lucky. Such a pretty girl. Rock Lee blew a heart to his date. His date dodged it. The heart fluttered above his date's head before it stuck onto the white wall with a satisfying splooch sound. Lee's date's eye twitched. What the hell are you doing? Fuzzy eyebrows. Kawaii. Out of all the people here, you've got to be the most hideous, spat his date. Rock Lee's smile started to fade, slowly turning into a frown. I don't think she likes me very much. Leave me alone, Onagai. Pleaded his date. A pause. Hi, answered Rock Lee sadly. Arigato, muttered his date quickly and left the room quickly, out the frayed wooden door. 10-10, smiled when her name was called along with Neji's. Neji and me are the only ones from everyone from Konoha who were paired with someone from Konoha. I guess I can consider myself as lucky. But even luckier that I'm paired up with Neji. He's so cute, especially when he's angry. She could feel her cheeks twinge rose. After all the names were called, 10-10 and Neji made their way to one of the squishy ugly green couches. Neji, do you wanna dance? Asked 10-10 happily. Kuso, she wants us to dance. I've never danced with a girl yet. Actually, I don't think I ever danced before. What happens if I screw up? What happens if I step on her toe? What happens if I break her toe? Kuso, I just won't say anything then. Hopefully she'll take it as a no. If I said no, wait, I can't say no, not to 10-10. Everyone knows what 10-10 is like when she gets mad. She might throw her kunais at me. She probably have a whole bunch hidden in that pretty dress of hers. She looks so pretty when she's mad though. She's always pretty. Wait. What am I saying? Oh. She's looking at me. Quote ellipsis quote. Damn it. Why won't he say anything? Should I pretend that he meant yes? Or no? Shit. Okay. Eeny me. Ni am I, the voice in her head scolded her, then you only get a 50% chance. You know you want to dance with him. So go. Okay then. Neji, let's dance. Exclaimed 10-10 nervously, immediately realizing that her hand was shaking. Shit, she's supposed take it as a no. Neji and 10-10 got of the squishy couches and slowly walked to the dance floor. Neji felt a warm hand take his as they were walking. He felt his cheeks go warm. He glanced down and realized that it was Tenten's hand. Neji realized that the song playing was a slow song. When they found a nice spot on the dance floor, Neji realized something. He didn't know where to put his hands. He wasn't paying much to the throng of dancers before, and now he didn't know. Neji decided to go with his guts. Neji lifted his hands and put them around Tenten's neck. Tenten immediately backed away, which forced Neji to let go. I guess you don't know how to dance, Neji, sighed Tenten. He just looked at her stonily with his eyes wide open. Here, I'll teach you then, said Tenten to slice the silence that was hanging heavily in the air between them. Tenten gently guided Neji's hand to around her waist. She realized the uncomfortable look on Neji's face. Why don't we dance another time? Asked Tenten. Neji gave a nod, his cheeks still red, and they strode back to their spot on the couch. Hinata was still with Naruto, sitting on top of the snow-plastered roof. It had been long ago since they gave up on counting the million sparkly stars that littered the dark sky. Hinata watched Naruto lie down on the snow, with a thoughtful look on his face. She saw a glimpse of sadness that was usually covered by his mask of happiness. It's unusual how things turn out in the end. I always thought, when I was young, that I would never find friends. Real friends. When I was 10, I found out what real friendship was like. Sakura, Sasuke, you, and Kakashi, all became my friends, my true friends. Well, the old man at the ramen stand too. Well, I talked a lot. Let's make snow angels, said Naruto and took a deep breath to calm himself down. Naruto laughed as he got off the snow angel and brushed the snow off his orange jacket. It's not the one he usually wears, a nicer one. It is a dance after all. I screwed up on the wings, said Naruto with laughter. Hinata smiled and reached over to brush the powdery snow off his spiky hair. Thanks, he said and smiled as she turned tomato red. Sakura and her date Oniro walked back to one of the couches after a few exhausting and nice dances. Sakura smiled at Oniro. Thanks so much for the dances. Oniro-kun, I had a great time. Me too, answered Oniro. Sakura-chan, I really like you. I would appreciate it if you want to go out another time. Just the two of us. Here, I'll give you my number. Oniro took one of the slips of scrap paper on the coffee table and wrote his number on it. Here, said Oniro, as he gracefully handed her the slip of white rumpled paper. Sakura looked at the number, and repeated to herself 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Sakura smiled. Again, thanks Oniro-kun. I'd love to go out with you another time. Immediately after she said that, she felt a weird feeling in her stomach. Sakura couldn't forget about Sasuke, what's the point of chasing him? I've been chasing after him for 9 years. 9 years wasted on one guy. And he has never acknowledged me. Not once. The only time he acknowledged me was at our first Chunin exam. Yet he didn't even really acknowledge me. He acknowledged Teen 7. Why should I chase him now? Sakura pressed the thoughts of Sasuke out of her mind. Is something troubling you? Sakura looked startled. She soon realized that it was Oniro who was talking. No, nothing's troubling me. Sakura answered back innocently with a false smile. Shikamaru was sitting grumpily on the couch with his eyes closed. He felt a sudden short jab in his ribs. His eyes quickly shot open. Ino looked at Shikamaru with her crystal clear blue eyes. Shikamaru-kun, exclaimed Ino, her eyes sparkling. Well, you're probably wondering why I'm not with my date. There was a gleam in Ino's eyes. Ino dropped her voice to a whisper and said, he's even uglier, that Rock Lee. Unbelievable. I just had to get away from him. I hope he can't see me. So why bother coming to me? Why not just run up to Sasuke-kun? Asked Shikamaru. He instantly regretted saying that. If I like Ino-chan, why I am being so mean to her? Constantly. Shikamaru's eyes twitched as he expected Ino to clobber him, as the many times he did before. But surprisingly enough, she didn't. He caught the look of hurt that was evident in her eyes. I'm sorry, Ino, muttered Shikamaru. This was so troublesome. Ino waved her hand away. Doesn't matter anyways. She paused. I've given up on Sasuke. I was only annoying him the other day when I wanted to be his partner. Don't want him to think that I'm giving up that easily. Shikamaru realized that she omitted the kun suffix. He felt the weights in his chest lift, and suddenly, the night didn't seem as bad as before. Ino laughed happily, in an evil way. Anyways, I'll leave it to Sakura-chan to get Sasuke. It's not like he's ever going to look her way. He never has before. Why should it change now? The rambunctious night of the dance was coming to a slow end. Yet, the stars still twinkled as brightly as they started. Up high, in the mountains, was a lodge, where a CD player was playing its last song before retiring for the night. A certain blonde and an ebony-haired girl were sitting on top of the snow-covered roof in brief silence. The many stars were shining brightly in the clear cold night, but they had given up on counting stars long ago. Naruto rubbed his eyes and looked down at his rare watch that was settled on his left wrist. Today was a special day, after all. Naruto looked up at Hinata. We should start to head back, Naruto started. The dance should be over soon and we should head back before the others begin to worry. Hi, replied Hinata, her voice quiet. Hinata slowly got up, followed by Naruto. They jumped off the snow roof and landed on the trail that would lead them back to the lodge. They walked silently back. The only sound they made was the crunching of the snow beneath their feet. In the distance, faint pounding music could be heard, very likely coming from the dance. Naruto, Hinata began, but stopped short when they saw a black and white mammal scurry around the trail. It stopped directly in front of them. Its beady eyes eyed them. It kind of looks like a skunk, don't you agree? He asked casually. Well, it doesn't really look like a skunk. Skunks hibernate in the winter. I think. Naruto had a crooked grin on his face. Oi, Mr. Skunk thingy, I don't care what you are, but could you please move out of the way so we can go by? Before Hinata could hush the clueless shinobi, the skunk iced its tail and sprayed both Naruto and Hinata with a foul odor. Naruto felt his eyes burn. My eyes, he exclaimed loudly. His hands immediately clasped to his eyes. Hinata followed his suite. Hinata didn't say anything for a while. Naruto, she began. Naruto gulped, when hearing Hinata say his name with the usual, kun, suffix. I'm sorry, Hinata-chan. He apologized fretfully. Forgive me, please. I honestly didn't mean to make the skunk mad. Hinata wanted to not forgive him. But looking at his face made her forgive him. How could anyone be mad at someone so adorable? Hinata smiled at Naruto. Hinata looked down, not really wanting to forgive him. The odor of the skunk was giving her a headache. She glanced up at him quickly. Gosh, he looked adorable. She gave him a weak smile. She couldn't resist. Forgiven, she said uncertainly. Arigato, Hinata-chan. Now we just have to go back to the lodge and take a nice long shower with lots of pink bubbly soap. Naruto replied happily. I don't think it just comes off with a shower. In fact, we'll probably have to bathe in tomato juice, in order for the smell to wear off. She trailed off. Naruto stopped in his tracks. You mean we have to go to a store and buy cans and cans of tomato juice? He asked, exasperated. I don't think so, said Hinata. The others will probably get the tomato juice for us. At least I hope they will. Let's hurry back then, he said, while taking large steps to the lodge. Hinata agreed silently. Finally, after a 20-minute walk back to the lodge, Naruto and Hinata arrived at the front steps of the house. I don't have my keys with me, Naruto announced with a small shrug. He looked at Hinata. She bit her lip. Sorry, I didn't bring my keys along either. Ah, it's okay. We'll just have to knock them. Hinata nodded and reached forward and knocked heavily on the thick wooden door. After a couple seconds of waiting, the worn gold doorknob began to turn. Tenten stood there holding on to the worn doorknob with Neji standing behind her. Finally, said Naruto. Took you long enough. YW. Naruto stopped short as he saw Tenten take a large sniff of the skunk odor and took a few steps back before grabbing the doorknob and quickly shutting it into their faces. Neji opened the door slightly and gave a glare at them, when he saw the two of them together. Come back when you buy tomato juice. Okay, agreed Naruto blankly. Hinata gave a sigh. I can't believe that they just told us to leave. They began walking back down the path that lead to a nearby supermarket. How far will it take to get there? 30 minutes, I think. We might, well, we probably will stink up the entire store just going there, she said in her usual quiet voice. Who cares? Naruto retorted. As long as I'm skunk-free, then I don't care. Naruto opened the dirty glass door politely, allowing Hinata in first before he himself went in. The man behind the counter wrinkled his nose in disgust. Naruto and Hinata saw him reach into the drawer, pulling out a clothespin and then plugging it on his nose. Why do you think he would keep a clothespin in his drawer? Naruto asked, eyeing the man. I don't really want to know. Naruto shrugged and took one of the trolley carts located at the front of the show. Aisle 8, he murmured to himself. He pushed the cart, noticing that it was rather hard to control. He turned the cart around the corner, bumping into a few bottles and cans, knocking them down. Hinata was already there with a few cans of tomato juice in her arms. She sighed. Here, you pick up the things you knocked down and I'll load the cart. He nodded while grimacing. Things weren't going his way today. Naruto picked up the bottles and cans and hastily put them back onto the shelf. Hinata was already finished by the time Naruto was done. You can steer the shopping cart, if you would like, Naruto said. All right, she replied. I'll pay Hinata-chan. It's my fault that we smell, Naruto dejectedly. The cashier was waiting impatiently for Naruto and Hinata to finish talking. Naruto stuck his hand into his jacket pocket. Nothing. Pant pocket. Nothing. He searched around a few more times. I don't have my kawaii frog wallet with me, Hinata-chan. I think I left it back in my room. Hinata blinked. I have some money with me, but not enough, she trailed off. The cashier groaned. Look, it doesn't matter anymore. I don't really care. So it's on the house. Take more tomato juice if you want. Just leave, said the plugged nose man hysterically. Naruto's eyes grew wide. Are you serious? Would you mind if I took some ramen as well? Naruto, Hinata hissed, giving a small kick in the shins. She took out her wallet and dumped the remaining contents out. Sorry, but it probably won't cover the cost of everything, but... The man waved her off. Thanks, they chorused. They picked up the white plastic bags before speeding back outside. Hinata and Naruto had reached the lodge. In front of the door lay a large bin, 2 towels and some of Hinata and Naruto's extra clothes, along with a note. Hinata and Naruto, go to the woods and take a bath in the tomato juice before you step a foot into the house. If not, don't give a damn thought of coming back in here. We know you don't have your keys. Sincerely, everyone. Naruto looked at Hinata with a twinge of pink on his cheek. You know this means that we have to take a bath in the woods. Without any walls, or anything to cover us, finished Naruto, his cheeks more red than before. He glanced at Hinata, whose cheeks were burning. Hinata didn't say anything, but she picked up the overly large bin and motioned Naruto to help her carry the other side. They trudged through the woods, until they were in the heart of the forest. Hinata felt another blush creep up her cheek. So should we just fill the bin up with the tomato juice first, then we take turns taking baths? Naruto nodded and they silently filled the bin up with tomato juice, which took a short amount of time, considering the size of the bin. Naruto gave Hinata a sheepish grin. I suppose you wanna go first? Asked Naruto as he looked down at his feet. Hinata had seldom seen Naruto look so shy. Sure, she replied happily. She loved the fact that she could be more open around him. He thought of being smell-free was bliss. She waited until Naruto was out of sight before slipping into the tomato juice-filled bin, with her smelly clothes on. She reached to the bottom of the enormous bin and found a brush to scrub with. After another 20 minutes in the tomato juice, she stepped out and wrapped the white fluffy towel, staining it temporarily a watery red color from the tomato juice. She'd take another shower later on. She made sure that the towel was fully covering her body as she fished out her own fresh, clean clothes from the neat pile of clothes. Naruto was waiting at the edge of the woods impatiently. At this time, Hinata would already be smell-free, and he'd be the only stinky one. He could hear faint footsteps, hitting the hard snow from a distance. Naruto stood and brushed the snow off his pants. Your turn, said Hinata smiling as she continued to dry her hair. Naruto leapt up and dashed to the heart of the forest where the tomato juice was. Naruto jumped into the bin, trying to make as little splash as possible. But no avail, as some of the tomato juice spilled down the sides. Naruto found a brush to scrub himself with. After 20 minutes of scrubbing, Naruto wrapped the white fluffy towel around himself, and carefully got changed into the fresh clothes that laid on a heap on the snow. Naruto dug a hole in the snow and poured the contents of the tomato juice into the hole he previously dug. He used his hands to cover it with fresh white snow. Naruto dragged the now empty bin towards the edge of the woods. He knew Hinata would be there, waiting for him. "Hinata-chan, we're smell-free. Damn, that stupid stunk. All that work. It wouldn't have sprayed us if you," started Hinata. "I know," Naruto said grumpily. "It was my fault." Naruto and Hinata walked back to the cabin together, side by side. The walk was silent. Naruto felt Hinata's cold hand brush against his. Naruto wrapped his hand around Hinata's. Naruto frowned. "Your hands are cold." Hinata blushed heavily. "It's nothing." Naruto took of his orange jacket, revealing a black t-shirt with the leaf symbol on it. He handed the jacket to Hinata, who draped the orange jacket across her shoulders. "Arigato, Naruto-kun. It's much better now," Hinata whispered without stuttering. Her eyes widened. Had she really felt so comfortable with Naruto-kun that her stuttering stopped when she was around him? Sakura was sitting on one of the white lounge chairs in front of the lit fireplace. Her eyes brightened as she watched the immense flame and the smoke that emitted from the flames. She closed her eyes and listened to the sound of the fire. She faintly heard the doorbell ring over the crackling of the fire. She didn't bother getting the door. There was 15 other people living in the lodge. Surely, someone would answer the door. It was snowing heavily outside again, to Sakura's delight. She loved winter as much as she loved spring. Waking up in the morning, after a heavy snowfall, was one of the most beautiful things she ever witnessed. When everything was covered in a nice comfy blanket of snow, it was like a fairy tale. She and Sasuke would be walking in powder snow, hand in hand. Cheeks rosy from the cold. Sakura laughed bitterly out loud. That would be a fairy tale that would never come true. Her feelings were always mixed up when it came to Sasuke. It confused her. He had made it clear long ago that she wasn't right for him. She was too weak, too annoying, and maybe too ugly for him. She silently chuckled, and to think of all those wasted years chasing him. Making herself look pretty, just for him. But things changed. Her love for him faded. She wanted someone that would be nice to her. Someone who appreciated her for who she was, someone that wasn't Uchiha Sasuke. Sakura could hear the voices of Ino, Naruto, and Hinata through the doorway. She tore her eyes away from the flames when she heard her name. "HN," she replied. Hinata appeared at the doorway. Her cheeks rosy from the cold. "Sakura-chan, Ino and IW were going to make cookies. Would you like to help?" Sakura shrugged. It wasn't like she had anything better to do. Sakura got up and followed Hinata to the kitchen. The kitchen lights weren't on, leaving the room dim. Sakura saw a crack of light from the fridge. Ino was checking over the recipe with a frown on her face. "What's wrong, Ino pig?" asked Sakura teasingly as she used a hair band to tie her hair in place. Ino didn't reply. "What type of cookie are we making anyways?" asked Sakura in a slightly annoyed tone. "Chocolate chip cookies, I think," answered Ino absently, "but there's something wrong with the recipe." Hinata looked up. Can I see?" asked Hinata timidly. Ino handed her the recipe and continued taking ingredients out of the refrigerator. Sakura walked over to the counter and looked at the ingredients that Ino pulled out. On the counter, laid an egg, some flour, sugar, and chocolate chips. "Does the recipe look funny to you, Hinata-chan?" asked Ino as she washed her hands thoroughly. Hinata nodded. "Where did you get this recipe?" asked Hinata. Not sure. I don't really remember, to be honest." "It doesn't matter where I got it. We can just kinda make up the recipe on the way, while we make it," answered Ino casually. "If it's really bad, we can give it to Choji, he'll probably eat it. Or we can make Shikamaru eat it." There was a definite evil glint in Ino's eyes. Hinata and Sakura looked at the blonde warily. Before Sakura could disagree, Hinata had already agreed. Sakura frowned upon the recipe doubtfully. Ino was measuring the flour and sugar as Hinata pulled out a wooden spoon from one of the drawers. Hinata handed the wooden spoon and the flour and sugar for her to cream. Sakura took the wooden spoon and the flour and sugar from Hinata with an uncertain look on her face. She wasn't even sure if they had measured the ingredients right. She didn't say anything. If the cookies didn't turn out well, they could always give the batch to Naruto, or as Ino had said earlier on, Choji or Shikamaru. Hinata took out a small bowl and cracked the egg into it and added a few drops of vanilla. Ino was measuring the flour with some measuring cups that she found in one of the wooden drawers. Ino used the measuring cups and measured the flour chili and sifted it with a sieve that sat on the countertop. Ino chatted happily with quiet Hinata and silent Sakura. They were placing the cookies onto the cookie sheet, one by one. Hinata slid the first batch of cookies into the already preheated oven. The last batch of cookies was finally done. Sakura placed the cookies carefully onto a large platter and set it on the table. She hadn't had a chance to try them yet. Not that she really wanted to, or anything. Shikamaru walked lazily into the room. He glanced over to the cookies on the platter, then glanced over at Sakura, Ino, and Hinata. "You made this?" he asked in a lazy drawl. Hinata nodded absently. Shikamaru pondered for a while. "May I have one?" Ino and Sakura nodded together, eyeing the cookies. Shikamaru took a cookie from the platter and stuffed it into his mouth. He grimaced and swallowed difficultly. "This stuff tastes like shit. What type of crap did you put in it?" said Shikamaru in a disgusted voice. Ino eyed him evilly, with a bit of a maniacal grin on her face. "What did you say, Shikamaru-kun?" asked Ino in a dangerously low voice. Shikamaru was sitting on an old brown couch in front of a roaring fire with an ice pack over his sore eye. He groaned. This had to be the worst day ever. 2 hits from Ino was all he needed to be as beaten up as this. Who knew that she was that strong? Sakura was lying on her bed, reading a book while curling her hair into pink locks. There wasn't a special occasion happening or anything. She was just plain bored. By the rate that the snow was snowing, they'd be snowed in by tomorrow. Ino was pacing back and forth the cold bedroom. Damn, maybe I hit Shikamaru-kun a little too hard. I hope he didn't get hurt. Wait, how did that happen? Why am I thinking of Shikamaru's health all of a sudden? Why? Ino's thoughts were cut short by a loud slam on a door. Ino's head snapped up. She could hear the footsteps of the person's feet on the unpolished wooden floor. Damn people, so annoyingly loud, she muttered under her breath. To be honest, she felt guilty for hurting Shikamaru. Again, this was the second time in the trip that she had hurt him. First it was the ski lift incident, and now this. She had that feeling in her stomach. What was it again? Oh yes, guilt. She hated that feeling. Sakura glanced up from the book she was reading. She glanced over at Ino, who was ill pacing back and forth on the wooden floor. The look of worry and guilt was written all over Ino's face. Sakura hid a small smirk. She knew that Ino was feeling guilty for hitting Shikamaru, even though she hadn't hurt him that bad. Well, at least not bad enough for him to bleed. Maybe he bled internally, but everyone gets bruises once in a while. There was a knock on the door, so quiet that Sakura and Ino had to strain their ears to hear. "Who's there?" asked Ino vaguely. Hinata," answered the timid Chunin. Sakura placed her book carefully on her bed and swung open the door. Her smile brightened. "Konnichiwa, Hinata." Quote, "Konnichiwa, Sakura-san, Ino-chan," replied the dark blue-haired girl. "I brought some medicine I made for Shikamaru-san." Ino's head quickly shot up at the sound of his name. "He doesn't deserve it," she spat. "That idiot," she muttered under her breath. "I'll just leave it here then," said Hinata quickly, turning to a shade of bright pink, as she ced the heavy bottle of medicine on the desk that sat neglected by the doorway. He was still slumped over on the armchair in front of the roaring fire. The ice had long melted. What was now left was a bag with cold water. It had hurt too much for him to get up and get more ice. He hadn't moved in the past 15 minutes. He just sat there, thinking. He groaned and sat up straight in his chair. He really liked Ino. She was his friend, his teammate, and hi, Shikamaru. A voice shrieked rather loudly. Great, she's gonna give me an ever bigger beating. Shika, Hinata told me I should go out and give you the medicine she made. But you don't deserve it. He groaned again. Why does she have to be so loud? My poor eardrums. Are you even listening to me? She asked sharply. No, he replied. Man, That woman just keeps getting more and more annoying. Sorry, I couldn't hear you properly. What did you say? Shikamaru figured that it'd be best if he stayed quiet. Ino breathed in and out deeply. Anyways, Hinata made some medicine for you. Shikamaru reached out and took the medicine from her and mumbled thanks. Don't thanks me, thank Hinata. Ino growled, as Shikamaru covered his ears to block out the noise even though he could still clearly hear her words. Hi, Ino-chan, replied Shikamaru dully. After plenty dinners of eating nothing but ramen, they were escaping to a nearby restaurant. Sakura was waiting by the front door along with everyone else. Cross that, almost everyone else. They were still waiting for one person. Stupid Kakashi-sensei. He's late for this, he's late for that. Can't he ever be on time? Now they were going to be late. She had already made reservations. As if right on cue, Kakashi walked happily into the room. He could feel the anger, annoyance, and the glares directed towards him. He had a hidden smile behind his mask. Maybe instead of giving an excuse he could pretend that he wasn't late. Well, what are you waiting for? We're going to be late. Someone opened the door and a large gust of wind and snow blew into the warm indoors. Sakura was still glaring at Kakashi as she walked out TGE door after him. Sakura wasn't surprised that the walkway was already covered in a thick blanket of snow, even though it was cleared earlier that day. They trudged slowly through the snow. Sakura could feel her nose plug up. She rubbed it heavily. God, it was so cold. She crossed her eyes and looked at her nose. Bright pink. Great, she thought sarcastically. Now, I'm Rudolph. Sakura-chan, called Naruto in his usual whiny voice. What do you want this time? Naruto lowered his voice. You know Hinata-chan. I know her, she replied as she slightly rolled her eyes. She's really pretty. Do you think so? Asked Naruto anxiously while twiddling with his fingers. Yeah, she really likes you, so why don't you go talk to her? Said Sakura, smiling. Really? His voice was hopeful. How about Neji? I'm positive that he doesn't like, or trust me. I'm sure it'll be fine. Really? Sakura-chan, I hope you're right. Thanks a whole bunch. Wait here for a moment. I'll be right back. He gave her a pearly grin, before heading off to talk to Hyuga. Sakura could see from the corner of her eye, Naruto and Hinata chatting happily. Well, more like Naruto talking and Hinata patiently listening. It was only HINATA who could listen to Naruto's incoherent words. Sakura could hear the flutter of a bird's wings. She looked up and saw a heron start to fold up its wings and land on the snow-covered fir trees nearby. As the bird landed, Sakura saw the snow start to slip from the branches. Her eyes widened as she saw the snow fall and land directly on Sasuke's head and body, and go down his back. Serves him right, Sakura could hear Naruto say rather loudly. To be continued and thank you for watching.